Welcome to Good Neighbor Training. This presentation is one of 6 that you will be required to listen to and understand prior to moving into housing with supportive services through Charlotte Family Housing. At the end of the presentation, you will take a quiz to demonstrate your understanding of the material presented here. In the last module, we talked about finding a home within the area of town you've decided to live. In this module, we will talk about program requirements and program violations that might cause you to lose your subsidy. In this module, we will discuss program requirements and program violations. We want to make sure you fully understand what you need to do and what not to do in order to receive supportive services from Charlotte Family Housing. There are a number of things listed on this slide that could cause you to lose a subsidy, if you have one, and we will discuss them in more detail in the coming slides. On the left side of this slide, you will see an image of the CFH Expectancy Contract. By now, you have probably seen this, signed this, and discussed this several times. It is an important document. The expectancy contract lays out what is expected of you in order to receive supportive services through Charlotte Family Housing. Financial literacy, learning to take charge of your budget, and financial health is an important part of what we hope you will gain from this program. There are requirements of your lease, requirements of the subsidy, and requirements of the expectancy contract. I know it sounds like a lot, but you will find that they overlap and intertwine. In other words, the requirements repeat. It's kind of like there are rules you make at home, and rules at school, and rules at work. Most of them are similar or the same. Pick up your own mess, do your job or chores or schoolwork, etc. This slide simply highlights 3 items on the expectancy contract which don't really get mentioned anywhere else. Number 1, meeting with your social worker. This is to keep you moving forward on your goals. Number 2, saving. We've talked about this before. Number 3, purchase and keep up to date a renter's insurance policy. You will recall from previous discussions, affordable housing is defined as rent and utilities taking up about 30% of your monthly gross income. The purpose of the subsidy is to gap the difference between what you can truly afford and a fair market rent for a home. Often, when people are trying to make ends meet and making money stretch, they must make choices of which bills to pay on time and which ones to let slide. The problem with that, or one problem with that, is that late fees can add up. The late fee for an apartment rent is about $35. If you are late each month, that's $420 for the year. And if the landlord must file with the courts, it's another $180. Now that you have an affordable rent, you should be able to pay your rent on time, on or before the first of the month. When you move into your new home, your HRC will give you a calendar helping you to identify which paycheck to use to pay your rent. And if you are paid weekly, how much to hold back out of each paycheck so that you have enough money to pay the rent on the first. Another important financial responsibility is to pay your utility bills on time. Late fees for utilities can add up quickly, and like late fees for rent, can be a big leak in your budget. It is a requirement of both your subsidy and of your lease to keep the utility accounts current at all times. Not having utility service can cause major damage to a structure. A refrigerator without power will begin to mold within a few days. Without heat, the pipes in a house can burst, causing thousands of dollars in damage. We recognize that financial emergencies do sometimes happen. It is okay, and not something you should hide or be embarrassed about. If you find yourself in a situation where you can't pay the rent or utility bill on time, alert your social worker right away. He or she can help you find a solution and may be able to pull in additional help. When you don't pay your bills on time or can't pay your bills on time, your credit score goes down. It becomes more difficult to find a landlord to rent to you, and it can be hard to get the utilities turned on once you do find someplace to live. Many people who are experiencing homelessness have been evicted in the past, or have other housing barriers that have kept them from renting or keeping a home in the past. Now that you have an affordable rent, you can begin to rebuild your credit and rental history. The biggest part of this will be to pay your rent, utilities, and other bills on time moving forward. You and your social worker may also work on some of the past debts that may currently be on your credit report so that your credit score will improve in the future. The better your credit, the easier it will be to get housing in the future. Because your rent is now set at an affordable level, it is an expectation that you pay your rent and utilities on time. If you do not, your voucher could be terminated. There is a difference between not paying the rent and not being able to pay the rent. If you experience an unexpected crisis, such as a job loss or illness, make sure to reach out to your social worker right away. Don't wait until a problem becomes a disaster. Much of the work you and your social worker do will be around budgeting. The basis of a good budget, and by a good budget, I mean an accurate budget, is knowledge and understanding of both how much money you have coming in and how much money you have going out. Your social worker will ask you for copies of every pay stub. Yes, it is a bit of a pain in the neck, but this is where the accuracy starts. If you make $10 an hour and think you worked about 35 hours last week, that's $350. But if it was really 32 hours, or $320, that $30 inaccuracy could be the difference between having the money to pay the electric bill and falling short of having all the money you need. Likewise, it is important to know what you are spending your money on. Budgeting for expenses is not a wish list. It would be nice if you only spent $100 a month on gas, but if you are really spending closer to $200, make sure that the budget includes that. Often, we see what we call bare bones budgets. People will write down what they spend money on rent, electricity, fuel, childcare, and laundry. When you subtract those expenses from the monthly income, it seems that there is plenty of money left. But they forget to think about the money they gave the kids to go to the movies, the fast food dinner, and the cell phone bill. Doing a budget isn't about writing down what you wish your expenses were. It is about writing down what you actually spend. Often, as you begin this process, you may want to keep a small notebook with you and write down every little thing as you spend it. You'd be amazed how $1.25 a day in the vending machine adds up. We're not saying you shouldn't grab a soda at work. We all need a caffeine fix in the middle of the day. We're just saying that $1.25 a day is $6.50 a week, or $27 a month. That $27 needs to go into the budget. Or you may find that buying a case of soda at the store and taking a soda to work fits your budget better. Now that we have spent some time talking about budgeting and about your financial responsibilities, let's move on to the obligations you have as a tenant. In previous presentations, we talked about some of the things the landlord must do to maintain the home, such as making repairs. We have also talked about some of the things the tenant must do to maintain the home, such as keeping it clean and reporting any problems. Now we are going to discuss some of the actions that are expected both of the tenant and the landlord as well. It almost goes without saying that criminal activity on the property and within the home is a violation of the lease. If you can go to jail for it, it's also a violation of the lease. The landlord can and will evict a person who has been charged with a crime, even if the crime did not occur on the property. When you think about it, this is a really good idea and is for your protection. If your neighbor commits a crime on the other side of town, you want the landlord to evict him or her right away. As the leaseholder, you are responsible for what goes on in the home, whether or not you are there. Make sure that if people will be in the home when you are not there, teenage children, child care providers, guests, that they are trustworthy and you know what they will be doing in your home when you are not there. Make sure that your guests are behaving in a way that is respectful of others. If you are having people over, make sure that noise stays inside your home and is not disruptive to the neighbors. Because local laws hold landlords responsible for crimes committed on the properties they own, landlords are very particular about making sure they run criminal background checks on all tenants and occupants. Often, criminal backgrounds can be a bigger barrier than credit to obtaining housing. Therefore, the landlord is going to want to know about all the people living in the home. Unauthorized occupants, people you have let move in without putting them on the lease, are strictly forbidden. You must tell your landlord and Charlotte Family Housing if you want to add another person to your household. Likewise, the landlord needs to know if there will be a pet in the home. Again, the property owner can be held equally responsible as the pet owner if a pet bites a neighbor. Pets can also cause damage to a house or apartment, and so there are usually additional deposits and fees due if you have a pet. These final items could also result in the loss of your subsidy and/or your housing. An unauthorized move means packing up and moving to another home without first alerting CFH and making sure the new house has passed inspection and that we can pay the subsidy. Please note that a move will not be authorized if you are not in good standing with the landlord. In other words, you must give a proper notice of intent to vacate. Remember from before, 30 to 60 days notice in writing, as well as be current on your rent payments and not have any lease violations. Subleasing means moving out and letting someone else take over the lease payments on your home. Lease violations. We have covered this in other slides, but to review, some violations that could cause your landlord to terminate your lease could include unauthorized occupants, inappropriate behavior, not paying the rent, and poor housekeeping. Being evicted will cause you to be exited from the Charlotte Family Housing Program. Finally, it is important to note that our subsidy funders will audit and check for accuracy each year to make sure that we are fairly and accurately spending the money that has been donated. When we ask you for documentation, please understand that it is so we can accurately calculate the benefits available to you. Again, failure to do this could result in the termination of your subsidy. It seems like a little thing, but being fair and accurate is important. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this presentation. We hope that you have found this information to be valuable and that you are already thinking about your family's wants and needs in a new home.